How about that Bears Nagel?
The Philadelphia Nagels somehow did it again.
It was over. It was done. And not only did it hit the uprights, but it came down and hit the crossbar and then bounced out. And the Bears end up going home with an end of the season. The Eagles move on. Wow. And apparently I haven't really, I don't follow the Bears, but apparently it happened it's several times in the last few weeks.
Did Parkey miss 11 kicks this year? Is that what I heard? I know one game he missed 4 kicks. I think he missed an extra point last week, and I believe in the majority of his misses, he doesn't just miss.
He hits the
crossbar.
crossbar
It off the crossbar.
or the uprights,
exactly.
whatever.
Now, speaking of double doinks, I don't know how
crazy.
anybody can stand listening to Chris Collinsworth for more than 30 seconds. He's a double doink.
We'll get into some more because there are a few highlights of maybe some questionable plays and questionable calls over the weekend, and everything seems to be set. Tonight is the national championship game for NCAA men's football. That game is tonight, Clemson and Alabama.
Yeah,
you're shaking your head like
it's always Alabama. I don't even know if I'm that excited to watch this. I guess I will watch it, but what channel is it on? I might not watch it.
Is that ESPN tonight, Davey? I think it is.
Oh,
yeah.
Boy.
This week, by the way, speaking of Clemson playing tonight, Syracuse plays Clemson. They had a big game over the weekend against Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, this team has the potential. The last time I said this team is better than we all think. It has the potential of being far better than we all think, and I'll leave it at that. They have 2 big ACC games this week, Clemson and Georgia Tech. Both games are at home, so that's going to be something to check out. Let's see. How about if we talk about the president? He was huddling at Camp David, talking about options for the wall and border security and maybe turning this into a national emergency and doing it on his own without congressional support. John Decker from Fox News standing by. How does that meet the legal challenge, John? What are your thoughts?
Good question, and I think you've asked the right person. I'm the only lawyer in the White House press corps, a member of the D.C. bar, so you've asked that question to a person who's pretty knowledgeable on this, and I think the president doesn't have a leg to stand on. The power of the purse rests with Congress. In order to spend any money, a president must have a specific appropriation from Congress, and without an appropriation to build a border wall with Mexico, even if the president declares a national emergency, he cannot do it. And so if the president were to do that, I don't know where he's getting his advice from, but if the president were to do it, that would almost certainly bring about a legal challenge from many parties, including from Congress.
Now, we have seen presidents take moves when it comes to foreign powers, maybe acts of war or something close to that. There's always a legal battle over that. But he'd be hard pressed to try to come up with an example. Well, let's take that as part one. So, if there was an imminent danger, could he pull this off? And part two of that is, how do you present this as an imminent danger when it doesn't seem to be any more dangerous than it has been in the last couple of decades?
Yeah, that's a tough one, and so they're claiming it's a national emergency. The Secretary of Homeland Security is trying to present sort of her case why it's a national emergency, but I agree with you. I don't think it's any different now than it's been over the course of the past 5 years, for instance. But beyond that, you declare a national emergency, it does not give you the authority in the executive branch as President of the United States to spend $5 billion that has not been earmarked from Congress. And so if the President's getting this advice from the White House counsel's office, they have a very bad track record of giving the President some bad advice, and I think this is further bad advice that he's receiving from the White House counsel's office.
And then beyond that, your take on obviously, we just heard the story that the Mueller investigation has been he's been given another 6 months for the grand jury. That gives you the feel that this is not going to end anytime soon, at least in the next few weeks or even the next month or so.
I know. It's unbelievable. So this has been going on since May of the president's first year in office, May of 2017, and now we have learned that the grand jury has been extended. A request has been made for the grand jury to extend its service for another 6 months, and you hit the nail right on the head. That gives you a clear indication this is not, just weeks away from wrapping up. It's months away from wrapping up, and it continues to be a black cloud hanging over the president. And now, of course, there's a new political dynamic because you have Democrats in control of the House of Representatives. They're going to do their digging as well.
Always great to have you on, John Decker, with your legal knowledge. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.
Oh, thanks a lot for having me on today, and I'm continuing to follow the Syracuse basketball team, and look, I think it's going to be a good year for them. What do you think?
I do, too. I again, every time, though, I say this team's better than we thought, they end up getting defeated miserably. But
well, it's early in the year. It's early. You watch tournament time; they'll be right there.
No doubt.
The less Bill talks about it, the better they are.
It does seem better. Yeah. All right, John. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks again. Bye bye.
John Decker from Fox News, and he is an awesome source to go to whenever we have these legal issues because he is he has a legal degree in Washington of all places. Okay, Golden Globes last night. What a snoozer. Did anybody watch any of that?
I saw some of the opening.
That open.
Only accidentally.
That open had to be the most boring, worst, pathetic open of any award show I think I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, I'm glad you agree.
Awful.
And I don't watch a lot of award shows.
It was so. They were trying to make fun of the fact that you can't say anything today. And the networks the award shows are all worried about, God forbid, if you offend this one or you offend that one. And they were trying to poke fun at it. And it was a great attempt, I guess, but it was awful.
Yeah, with
so they literally didn't say anything.
Terribly executed. The whole thought was, instead of criticizing, we're going to make it look like we're criticizing, and we're really just going to compliment them. The problem, and there were a couple of jokes apparently in there that were a couple of zingers, supposedly.
And there was one.
But even those I didn't even get. I didn't even understand. It wasn't anything. Christian Bale probably had the joke of the night when he thanked Satan for giving his inspiration for playing Dick Cheney. I thought that was at least, wait a minute. There's some actual humor in here with a little bit of a sharp blade. Everything else was just a snooze fest.
Although there was really one awkward exchange where I think Andy Samberg was talking to the director of Black Panther, and then in reference to Black Panther Party, and then they cut to the director, and he was kind of confused, and then he kind of sped through the rest of the joke and finished up. But,
a lot of stuff.
Although I did think the Jim Carrey thing was kind of funny. It was good to see he was participating not crazy.
He was the only thing of that open that had any element of funny, and it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
And you had to feel bad I felt bad for Jim Carrey, like, oh my God, Jim Carrey's in here to rescue this mess.
Yeah.
And even it isn't rescuing, so whatever.
Yeah, it was more
It was awful.
By accident, I didn't want to grab the remote. I'll sit through this for a minute. And then when
I was just still in shock in my chair about the end of that game. I was just.
Anybody watch? I could not wait to get over to watch Cortez Manassio, the new congresswoman who's getting all the attention, just because she says things that are way out there. She's Bernie Sanders times a couple. But what I found in watching she is not, while she is out there, and while I think her policies are crazy, I thought this is the first time I saw an interview with her, she's a lot more aware and seems a lot smarter than I thought. A lot more, she's far more educated than I thought. I don't think she's a dummy. I do think she knows exactly what she's doing. I think she's having a great deal of fun. Everybody's paying attention to her, both the left and the right. The more she says that's out there, like a 70% tax rate, the more she knows what she's saying. And I think she might be a little more clever than you think. And you compare her to like our U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. And there is just somebody who I think is just a blank piece of paper. This is not a blank. She evokes emotion. This woman, and she's not going to go quietly.
I think she's already, and I don't think she's proposed any legislation, but she's already proposed more legislation than
she has. That's the whole thing. I mean, and you can.
Well, has she named a post office? I don't think so.
You can say as you please, but she is something of a gem for people on the left and the right to talk about. And believe me, Fox News has done more talking about her than they have anybody else in the. And they label her as the voice of the Democratic Party.
So you know what's funny? So after sitting through that open of the Golden Globes, I'm like, Andrew and I are both like, we can't watch this. I'm not going to watch this. It's not even funny. So we're like, I said, Alex Ocasio-Cortez was on 60 Minutes. So we click over, and I'm like, I think we're like 90 minutes too late here because we watched the end of the football game. So you pull it up online, and it kept playing
the Cologuard commercial.
Yeah, Anderson Cooper's opening
intro, and then it would go right back after the news.
I have to tell you something.
I
have to tell you, if you're trying to find 60 Minutes online, it's almost impossible. They'll give you segments. You can go online to get after segments, but it's almost impossible to get a complete segment from start to finish on 60 Minutes online. Even on the CBS website, it's so difficult to find it.
Because it kept saying that there was 15 minutes of video, but every time it got to Anderson's intro, it would go back to the Cologuard.
How long were you watching? You were watching for 15 minutes. It didn't mean 15 minutes of new video.
Yeah. So what I had said to him, to your point about Republicans being on her case, I said, well, we're going to have to listen to Russia's Open tomorrow because he'll be all
about it. And listen, the stuff she's proposing is it can't be paid for. How would you pay for all of this? She wants education for all. She's a democratic socialist, more so than Bernie Sanders. But what I'm trying to say is I felt she came off a lot more aware and a lot brighter than I've heard her described. This is the first time I took time to actually sit down and watch an interview with her. She's nuts, don't get me wrong, but she's not an idiot. And she has created this firestorm all on her own. And I find it kind of interesting. So she will be, I would predict that she's somebody that we're going to be talking about for quite some time, as long as she's in Congress. Interesting. I'm just saying. Carol Burnett, did anybody see her on the Golden Globes last night? You probably did. I said to my wife, there's another segment on 60 Minutes I'd like to watch because I tape it. I said, how much longer do you think we're going to be watching the Golden Globes? And
so
her answer,
really into this,
answer to me was, until the end, which is like 11:20 at night. So I haven't watched the whole thing. But midway through, Carol Burnett came on. They had an award in her name. She gets the first, like the Cecil D. DeMille, B. DeMille, whatever it is. Apparently that award, he won the first award. Carol Burnett has won the first Carol Burnett award. Anyway, watching her on TV last night, wow, she's got to be, how old, Davey? Can you look it up? How old is Carol Burnett? Because she looked
in her 80s, right?
She looked pretty God blessed young last night. I couldn't believe it.
She's 85.
85 years old. She doesn't look 85. She doesn't look, and she was sharp as a tack. Pretty wild. This morning, we'll also talk to Simon Owen from Fox News. I wanted to get just a little piece of what's going on with this military U.S. Marine that is actually being held on spy charges in Russia. What is that all about? We have, I got to tell you, if you're going to be traveling this morning or through the day today on the arterial, you might want to avoid it because there will be delays today. We'll talk to Jim Piccola from the New York State DOT on that. Also, there's a utility project underway down in the Franklin Square area, which is just down from the Odd where Genesee Street meets Oriskany. Free money question of the day this morning. We'll get into that. I started watching a series on Netflix that I think is pretty funny, and it's called The Ranch, and it involves that guy, that Sam Elliott guy who's got the low voice. Kenny Drugs.
And he was the narrator for The Big Lebowski.
And so much more that we have to get into here today, including a free money question of the day. I've got a goodie for you this morning. Chance of winning Hobica's money. Andrew updates the news, 6:34. Oh, and by the way, there is in the news a winter weather event that we're going to probably be experiencing this time tomorrow morning. This will all go into effect tonight, and we're looking at the potential of mixed precipitation tomorrow, sleet and freezing rain. Could be a tricky drive-in tomorrow morning. Let's talk about 60 Minutes last night. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a.k.a. AOC. I'm going to start calling her AOC because I can never remember her
you
name.
know me.
That's clearly
I'm the AOC.
racist, Bill.
You think?
Clearly racist, yes.
Speaking of that, Tony Colon, during the Christmas show, brought in pastele. Mm-hmm. And these are I'm in the process of trying to figure out how to make them, and I got to tell you, they're so delicious. I ate them over the weekend. This is my last stint. They're filled with carbs, so I'm today is my first day heavily back on the diet. I did okay over the holiday. I didn't go nuts, but I did this weekend. I went crazy this weekend. Every God-blessed rum ball, every pastele, every piece of pasta I could fit into my system over this weekend. I needed to clear out you could throw out your leftovers.
No, that's no.
You could also consume them. As my wife said, we had that on Christmas. Why are you still eating that? I'm like, I have to. You know, there are children in Ethiopia right now.
Starving.
So anyway, why am I talking about this?
Because your carbs, your pasteles, and Alex Ocasio-Cortez.
This is the Tony Colon. Thank you so much for the Christmas gift, and they were so delicious. And to give you an idea, they will take. I've had them from Puerto Ricans, and you'll find that there are other versions as you go into South America, but. These were Puerto Rican pasteles. They're made with plantains and the leaves of plantains as well. They'll take hours to create, and then you literally plop them into boiling salted water for about 70 minutes. It takes that long for these to cook, and you pull them out, you unwrap them, you lay them on a plate, and you cover them, I do anyway, in hot sauce.
Wow.
And let me tell you, it's just a treat. It is a treat, and it's always a treat because they're so hard to make, and it becomes an event for families. So, Tony,
it's almost like you don't want to eat it. You know,
that was the greatest gift, and my wife brought me a brand new Lexus over the holiday, and these were that's not true, but still, even had she, I still would have liked the pasteles more.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned Tony. Thanks for saving us one, by the way. We could have split it.
Yeah.
You mentioned Tony, and I'm actually drinking his Christmas gift that he got for us. It's the Cafe Bustelo espresso.
The espresso that I
kicks me right into gear.
I will tell you, yesterday about 5 o'clock, I was struggling. I was falling asleep during the game, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just do a single espresso.
Yeah.
And I did at about 5, and I was up the whole night long. I did not sleep all night long. I don't know what it is about me. I can't have a cup of coffee past 4 o'clock in the day. Otherwise, I am awake all night long. And I still kind of feel like I'm ready to run a marathon. Let's go!
Is that an age thing, do you think? Has that gotten worse?
That's so offensive. What is wrong?
What do you mean?
What is that?
It's an age thing.
Well, I don't mean like you're an old person.
No, I believe it's a makeup thing. It's a person. Like my wife could have coffee at 9 o'clock at night. Yeah. She'll be sleeping tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. I know other people. I think it's about your makeup. And maybe, quite honestly, I don't drink a lot of coffee, but I do drink espresso. So maybe it's the fact that I'm not I'm not an expert at drinking coffee. It's not something that I normally do. Oh, you are offensive. I
didn't mean for it to come out that
way. You and AOC.
I'll say, you said your wife, and she's got no problem. Well, your wife's,
I'll put down that
She's
shovel, Jeff. I'd put that shovel right down.
Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. Last night on 60 Minutes, here is her audio. And the question was, you don't talk often about the president. Here we go. Let me try that again. You don't talk often about the president. Okay, can we try it again?
Yeah.
It's still in queue. I can't get that button out.
You got it?
You don't talk often about the president.
Is there an echo?
No.
Why?
No. Because I think he's a symptom of a problem.
What do you mean?
The president certainly didn't invent racism, but he's certainly given a voice to it and expanded it and created a platform for those things.
Do you believe President Trump is a racist?
Yeah, no question.
How can you say that?
When you look at the words that he uses, which are historic dog whistles of white supremacy, when you look at how he reacted to the Charlottesville incident where neo-Nazis murdered a woman versus how he manufactures crises like immigrants seeking legal refuge on our borders, it's night and day.
In response, the White House Deputy Press Secretary told us Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's sheer ignorance on the matter can't cover the fact that President Trump supported and passed historic criminal justice reform and has repeatedly condemned racism and bigotry in all forms.
Yeah, I don't think the president is a racist. However, I just think he's an idiot when it comes to dealing with racist issues. Like that, the way he handled the Charlottesville thing was awful. No other political leader in the United States, past or present, could have survived that. But President Trump was able to survive it. I don't think he's racist. I just don't think that he can get out of his own way on issues like that. But it doesn't ever hurt him. I thought he was dead in the water after that Charlottesville thing. I thought there's no way he could survive that press conference. I watched it live. There's just no way. And he did. But do you think he's racist? I don't believe that he is. But this woman knows exactly what she's doing. My point is, don't look at her as being this naive little female that doesn't know
bartender.
She's a bartender. She doesn't know what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Makes more freaking money than I do.
She is going to be. She's going to be a star in that far, far left world. She's going to be a problem for Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, I want to see this showdown.
She's going to be a problem for Nancy Pelosi. Rob writes in, let's see. So when you become a Republican, you turn racist. Listen, there's not a Republican that could have stood up at a press conference in New York City like Donald Trump did on that Charlottesville issue and survived what Trump said. Trump isn't a Republican. Trump is Donald Trump. It's a completely different animal. Imagine Mitch McConnell getting up there and saying that. Oh, my God. I think he'd have the heart attack. He would have the heart attack. I don't think it's not a Republican thing. It is. It's. You've seen the impersonation on SNL of Mitch McConnell. It might be absolutely spot on.
It's kind of just. It's funny because Rush calls him the turtle, and that's kind of what you got to do. And you all in the back.
You got to
of your
suck
throat.
your cheeks in too. If you suck those cheeks in, you look more and more like him every time you do it. Anyway, then Cuomo, Schumer, Gillibrand, and Hillary should all return the donation they received from Trump. Blah blah blah. Listen, I'm not getting into is Trump a racist or is he not? I don't believe he is. But this woman, do not underestimate her. She is not some naive little airhead out there saying things that she doesn't know what she's talking about. Now, I think when she says something and she's wrong, she's saying it intentionally because she's playing the same type of game that President Trump plays. You just watch her, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think she's a lot smarter. Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez, a.k.a. AOC. All right, football last night. Do we have time to get into this right now? Because there's over the weekend, too, there was just a lot happening. What did you think of Harbaugh's decision? Turns out, was there ever a point that you thought Harbaugh should have changed out quarterbacks?
No.
Was there ever a point? Because the crowd was booing. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I would just say that, they made the decision that they were going to go with Jackson and not Flacco. And you can't put a rookie in there for 2 quarters or 1 quarter and then go, well, he doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing. We have to take him out. Well, we knew he had no experience in that position.
Was Flacco injured?
No. They made a decision that they were going to go with Lamar Jackson.
If you were going to do it, you had to do it basically at the start. There was a point where it had to be done if it was going to be done.
Yeah, you can.
But you couldn't
this
wait.
Is a Monday morning quarterback. We didn't win, so if we did this, maybe.
And guess what? He brought him back.
He did bring him back.
He brought him back, and whenever you're in that last that last 2-minute drill and you're down and you got to score and you're stuck and you're deep into your own end, you're going to try to, you got to push it. And when you push it, there's a chance that something could happen. That was a really crazy fumble. But
you know what's
I
funny?
I thought he made the right decision. I think you got to stick with him.
You have to stick with him. Every one of these games had like a late comeback. I mean, that's like the new thing in the NFL is the backdoor touchdown, that really screws up a cover. But, I mean, you saw it in the whole first game. Indy was up 21-0 dominant, and I guess Houston never really made a run, but it looked like they were going to for a time. The Dallas game on Saturday night, again, you had a 10-point lead. I can't remember who they were playing. Couldn't score, couldn't move the ball. And then all of a sudden they get the backdoor touchdown. And then you saw that in the San Diego game. They were up 23-3 with 6.5 minutes left, and it came down to, are they going to score on this final possession? And then the game last night.
So the other play I want to talk about is the other issue is with the Eagles game last night. So have you ever seen a play like this one? And the decision, even Al Michaels last night, was like, are the referees making this up as they go along the way? And their studio referee, who's the no longer a referee, the guy,
analyst,
he's like, honestly, I think they are. And it turns out they weren't. But if we get into this, so explain how this thing went down. So there was a pass. It looked like the Eagles,
the Eagle defender,
Mitchell Trubisky,
threw
a deep pass down the right side. Anthony Miller catches the ball. He takes 4 steps, but then the ball ends up coming out.
Right, so he fumbles it at that point.
But it seemed as if it was an incomplete pass because that's what the referees ruled. But apparently there's been a change in the rules for this season, and that is don't trust what the referees say because it could be overturned. So if there's a ball just dangling there, sitting there on the ground, jump on it because it could be overturned. And they didn't. And explain what happened.
So the
here.
crazy thing, the ref picks it up.
They rule it as an incomplete pass.
So I think what happens is, in the explanation afterward, I think maybe from Al Michaels, and he may have gotten it from somebody else, was because it was what it should have been was a catch fumble. Nobody recovered it. So the pass was technically incomplete because nobody actually
because
recovered
the ball just sat there and no one recovered it. It had to be deemed incomplete.
Yeah,
I have never seen that happen.
That was the explanation they gave.
That's
totally
the rule.
Disagree with
that's
it.
the rule now.
I think so. The whole catch rule now they've changed it because you had to make a catch, a football move, and all. There was all these things where if you watched it in real time, you'd say, "Well, that was a catch."
Right.
But they had all these qualifiers on what was a catch and what wasn't. So they simplified it. So now basically all you need is 3 steps, or you need to make a catch and turn, or something like that. So
which he did, by the way.
Yeah, and it was kind of up in the air. Was that a catch? Would that have been ruled a catch before?
The ball came out before he hit the ground, so it's not that the ground did not force the ball out.
Yep.
So according to the referee's explanation, it was a completed pass and a fumble, but because no one picked up the ball,
or essentially
and
the referee
ultimately
picked
the referee picked it up, it was determined that it was an incomplete pass. And there is a rule, apparently, that states just that now.
I'm not aware of this
and
rule.
then how about the ref comes back?
I'm just saying, in the according to what they said, there is apparently on appeal, they have an appeals book. And in that book, the rule states that must now be deemed an incomplete pass. I've never seen anything like that ever in football.
The funniest part was they had 90 minutes I felt like 90 minutes to review the play, and then the ref comes back and has no idea what he's talking about. He's like,
he didn't even explain it well.
Well, the ruling is that the ball that was short is true.
And we went back.
And it's incomplete. Dude, what are you saying?
Yeah, he at least the guy in the studio, in the booth.
Yeah.
At least that guy explained it.
But that poor ref.
After it took an explanation from New York in order to figure out what had happened. I thought that was pretty darn crazy.
But
anyway,
Chicago Bears,
it was
man.
11 missed kicks because somebody had sent me and I was going to try and edit out all the MFers and all that, but there was a Bears fan that had a video, and he was talking about he was pretty passionate, fired up, leaving the stadium, and he's like, 11 times
I
we
can't
missed
believe
that.
they didn't replace him. halfway through the season.
And I have one more thing on last night's Golden Globes before we break. Boring, awful, jokes weren't funny. Usually there's some insults. I watch for the insults because sometimes you get a really good host and they just blister people. It's awesome to watch.
Anybody anymore.
Today it seems, especially in these award shows, no one can be offended. It's just boring. Anyway, apparently they're saying that the person who stole the show last night was this Fiji water girl. And I kept seeing this headline, the Fiji water girl. Who is that? What movie was she in? No, she was the girl that had a tray of Fiji water that she was during the red carpet and all. She was actually giving out Fiji water to everybody. And somehow she ended up in every red carpet shot. Go look for the Fiji water girl. She's quite beautiful. And the question that I pose is, was this by mistake? Was this her trying to get into every shot? Or is this a masterfully done marketing program by Fiji Water?
Yeah, she's
you
cute.
be the and this is probably the launch of her career. You watch. Interesting. Her and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are going to team up and, who knows, do something really big. Got a break. Hold on. It's First News Keeler in the morning for a Monday at WIBX. The United County Department of Social Services has the opportunity for you. They have 30 openings right now. And you go to our website at WIBX950.com. In the trending bar, it's the bar towards the top, you'll see it says, what are we looking for? We're looking for
CNY Online Job Fair.
CNY Online Job Fair. Click on that, and it'll direct you on how to apply. But these jobs, there are 30 of them opening. You must apply before January 16th, and there's a whole bunch of benefits in this. Pay starts at $38,000. Great benefits, New York State retirement. And there's a program that you can apply for, and you might be eligible. By taking this job, you could be eligible for the New York State Public Service Student Loan Forgiveness Program, where they pay off your student loans.
Yeah.
This could be, and I think when you do that, you have to pledge to stay for so long in a particular job. But it's a rewarding job that helps families and children. And again, it pays over $38,000 a year with great benefits, and you become a part of the New York State Retirement Program. So go to our website at WIBX950.com. Search for CNY Online Job Fair. If you know of someone that's looking for a job or a career change, whether you're here right now or maybe they're out of town right now, this would be an opportunity.
It is a good opportunity.
$38K plus. Doesn't pay as well as radio, but, I'm just saying.
By as well as, you mean...
Not as good at all.
Jim Picola is with the New York State Department of Transportation. James, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
Are you guys?
How come we don't get to see Jim today? Where are you, Jim?
Listen, he heard the flu was going around, so he doesn't want to be a part of this place.
Oh, I understand.
I don't blame him. There's no flu here, though. Jim, I want to start with this winter weather advisory. Do you guys get Department of Transportation? Do you guys get updates from the National Weather Service? There's a weather event that could be happening tomorrow, which is where we're at. Could be sleet and freezing rain tomorrow. How does it work, and what are you guys planning for tomorrow? And are we going to be looking at anything tough when it comes to driving in that morning commute?
Yeah, any time you get that mixed bag of precipitation, especially freezing rain, it's definitely tricky to work with. But our salt supplies are up. We have that all set. Our guys are gearing up for it, and like I said, we'll continue to monitor the situation on the ground, and also we do get all the weather reports from the National Weather Service. And, again, we have our folks that are out there continuously out on the roadway monitoring them. Also, local law enforcement, they always have a big input on the road conditions because they're always out there, too.
Now, being that we haven't had that much when it comes to winter weather, I'm expecting to tune in tonight to the TV stations, and they'll be on Bread Watch, Bread and Milk Watch, out there looking like the world is coming to an end, and You might see a few drops coming down.
Like, you're getting blown over as people are walking behind him.
Look at when I do this, I slip and fall. Whoa! Anyway, that'll be tonight. But either way, tomorrow morning it could be a little nasty for that commute. So be aware of that. And Jim, let's talk about starting with the arterial today. It looks like there'll be some potential delays over there. What are you guys doing over there today?
Today we're working with the city of Utica, has their contractor out there going to start repair some of the highway lighting that's between the 5812 interchange all the way up to French Road. So there's going to be a ramp closure if you're coming on Route 8 North and you want to get off to go to Route 12 North. That ramp will be closed starting at 9 o'clock. Also, Lamont Place, that ramp to get off onto Lamont or to exit from Lamont to 12 North, that will be closed between 9 and 3 today.
All right, so be aware. And sometimes it just is worth just avoiding a certain area altogether if you can when you're expecting potential delays. It certainly makes it alleviates the congestion. And the same thing for over in the Franklin Square area, corner of Genesee and Oriskany. What's going on there today?
Well, we have our 5S safety project that started earlier this year. National Grid's gas has been working out there almost from day one. Their electric relocation work started about 2 weeks ago, and they had it broken up into like 3 phases. Just east of Genesee Street, they're working on that first phase. Really nothing on Franklin Square this week or probably the next few weeks. We've been, myself along with National Grid representatives have been going around talking to a lot of the business owners, keeping them up to date on, as this work progresses, and we will continue to do so. Again, most of the work is going to be east of Genesee Street, again, probably for the next 4 to 6 weeks, I would say.
All right. Listen, ultimately, when this is all said and done, and they're going through the same thing in the city of Rome with construction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a bit annoying, and it is there are delays from here and there, but we've really never, Jim, seen such progress in terms of construction projects. Do you ever recall? I mean, I obviously we've made our way through the arterial project, but when you're done with one, you're hitting another one. I don't recall anything like this before.
No, the governor really does understand how important transportation is to economic development and, again, our aging infrastructure. So we're keeping on top of it. Again, the arterial project, we just completed also Griffiths Parkway, also the Veterans Memorial Bridge at Firstone Road. We're also working on just to the west of the Oriskany Street project is the 5A project that's kind of buttoned up for the winter, but we'll be back out there in the spring. So, yeah, quite a bit of work going on. Region 2 is, made up of 6 counties, so it's not only the work here, it's the work throughout the region and throughout the state.
Yeah. And then, before you know it, we're going to be looking at construction over there on Oriskany of the hospital, starting with demolition. And I'm not sure we all completely understand because I don't think we've ever seen such a project of this size that will happen. And you have the Nexus Center, which is something Rob Esch is working on. Those two things might be happening: the hospital and the Nexus Center and the garage, all happening at the same time. I can't imagine what that's going to look like. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that, at least in our lifetime.
Yeah, no, it's, like I said, you just drive around the city, it's, and the area. Things are, even down in the valley, with the pumpkin patch, things are definitely starting to take off, and all for the good.
All right, Jim, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Jim Picola with the state DOT. I want to tell you that if think about what that will look like. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. Think of the blocks that are going to be demolished, and then you begin construction. On the other side of Oriskany, ultimately you're going to have that Nexus Center being created and a parking garage. All of that stuff going on in downtown Utica. It's going to look, we've never seen anything like it.
You've already seen the changes, and I was talking to somebody about, remember the trees? And everybody, I mean, I remember one woman that I knew, I ran into her and she was crying hysterically.
Over the trees on a Risconies. Yeah.
But the point is that like now, I don't even remember what it looked like with the trees. It's just so much, and I'm down there all the time.
She does.
She had pictures, but
every time she closes her
I'm
eyes,
just saying,
she sees it.
Are you talking about Nancy?
Better. No.
She was very distraught over the trees.
No, it wasn't Nancy.
Well, but I'm told they're going to be planting new trees in that.
Yeah,
section.
but the point is, what I'm saying is that there already has been so much change that I think it looks better down there, and it's only going to continue to get better.
I actually do have a complaint.
I think it looks awful right now. Construction looks awful.
I was going to say.
No, it's just a wide open space.
There's one thing about, and listen, I truly believe the Nexus Center, the hospital, the parking garage. I'm all in, and there's nothing like seeing progress when you've got cranes and you've got construction, but there's also nothing any uglier than that. I mean, are you trying to present this is beautiful?
I'm saying that the wide open space, how I can walk out of my office and look and see Bag Square and see everything as opposed to old dead trees, to me right now looks better.
Right. I agree.
I'm not saying that right now it's the best thing ever and it's going to be as good as the finished product.
I like the open space.
Okay.
I do like the open space, but I will say this. The construction down there, I mean, I know it's part of the process, but
it's ugly.
God, it's like...
It's ugly, it's annoying.
Yo-yoing the way
I'm there all the time. I literally have to go there every day.
Oh, my God.
Okay, Andrew, thank you for that. Terrible story out of Trenton, this fire at a farm.
Yeah.
How many cows?
Approximately 250.
It's really a terrible story. To give us an update on that is Sheriff Rob Mashel, who's standing by right now. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
This is obviously any tragedy that occurs is something that's close to you as the sheriff of Oneida County. But as a farmer, I would imagine this hits home even a little bit closer.
It sure does. Not only as a farmer, but I am friends with the family of this farm, and ironically, we were with them the night before at an event. So just a sad story. This was one of those farms. When you drove by, it certainly caught your eye. Just a beautiful farm. He was one of many top-producing herds in Oneida County. Just a super family, very successful farmers, and just tragedy struck, and it was very, very sad. About 100 milking cows, and the rest were younger stock. But
how much is the value of a single cow? Would you say?
Well, it depends on the cow and how much milk they produce, but potentially a cow could easily be worth a couple $1,000s an adult cow. And,
wow,
significant.
So you're talking about with 180. You're talking about the potential of ultimately over $300,000 in value right there.
Yeah, potentially. Like I said, I think they milked about 100 cows, and the rest were younger stock.
Yeah.
But, and it was one of those situations where. The weather certainly wasn't helping. We had strong winds, and fire departments that were there. I mean, the initial fire departments were Holland, Patton, and Barneville, and then Floyd, Stittsville, Remsen, Deerfield, Western, along with Star Ambulance and Amcare Ambulance. I mean, these folks did an amazing job, trying to not only were they fighting a significant fire, but many of these firefighters were personal friends with this family. Like I said, very well-respected family in the community. And the ladies' auxiliary, I mean, plus the neighbors, they were there, keeping the firefighters, fed with food and hot drinks. And just, seeing a community come together in a time of tragedy, that certainly stood out. And but like I said, this family, I don't know where they go from here. They're totally devastated. They are just devastated, and we feel horrible for them.
Now, Sheriff, do you know if they had insurance, and does the typical farmer have insurance on the livestock and on the buildings?
I don't know their particular situation, but I assume so.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Quite sure.
Either way, it's still a horrible loss.
Nothing suspicious, but obviously the fire investigators are trying to determine how it started. But again, nothing suspicious. Like I said, this family's devastated, and so is the community, and they'll be recovering from this for a long, long time.
All right, Sheriff, we appreciate the update. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Sheriff Rob Mashel, it was a terrible. Obviously, the good news is there's no loss of human life, but at the same time, this is their way of life. Pretty terrible story. 7:27. Coming up, some birthdays and news, and then our free money question from Hobica. Started watching a new Netflix series. It's so tough right now. It's like you'll get something you want to watch. You'll see a preview of it, and you're like, am I ready to commit to another series? And it's a challenge because you end up wanting to binge watch these, too. It's hard to.
I hate to say this,
lure you in like, oh, my God.
I've come to this point where not only do I not want to commit to a series, I start watching something that's more than 25 minutes. I'm like, there's no way.
Well, this one you might like. This is called the Ranch. I believe that's the name.
It's a series, though, right?
It's a series, and there's something different about this one, too. I'll tell you what it is. And the guy, I love the guy's voice. If you ever hear, like, the Kenny Drugs, Kenny Drugs.
You're under
Beef,
our
it's what's for dinner. Beef, it's what's for dinner. That's
the
that
dude.
Guy.
Is it him?
But I discovered something really quite interesting as I dug in on this. And I'll tell you what that is after our free money question, which is coming up at WIBX. I want to tell you, WIBX and the United Way, along with Mark Butler and Barb and Rocky Fiato at the Waterfront Grill, will be at the Waterfront Grill on Sunday for, I believe this is their 16th annual tailgate party to benefit the United Way. And we were all there last year.
Yes.
Great. The football games are all on. It's from noon until 4 on Sunday at the Waterfront. Barb and Rocky put on an all-you-can-eat tailgate buffet.
This Sunday?
It's this Sunday this year, so it's a week early this year. The games are all on TV. A ton of prizes. They give away prize after prize. It's $25 a person. You get everything. And it's well worth taking advantage of. It's this Sunday, the United Way tailgate party to benefit the United Way of the Valley and Greater Utica. Sunday from 12 till 4 at the Waterfront Grill in the village of Herkimer. Good morning, Josh. How are you? Are you a Patriots fan, Josh?
No way.
No way. I feel the same way. Who do you like?
The Bills.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to tell you. Did you find yourself watching this year just because you, Josh Allen, it was exciting? You feel like the future is here?
Finally, at the end of the year, yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the year, you're absolutely right. I mean, the beginning, middle, and at the end, yeah, I feel like we're on the road here.
How excited were we for a good backup quarterback?
Well, I think that the draft is going to be something that we'll keep our eye on. How many picks do we have? We have a lot of picks. A lot of picks.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention yet. It's so far away.
All right, here we go. You'll have 7 seconds to answer this. Follow your gut on this one, because you're never going to get it. But if you follow your gut, you're going to get it, okay? Because there's a clue in here. You understand what I'm saying? It's worth $100. Here we go.
Yeah, let's try it.
You'll have 7 seconds. Let's do it. In the 1680s, you remember back then.
You were the only one there.
Yeah, of course I was. In the 1680s, Irish doctor Sir Hans Sloane created this medicine, which is now a popular drink for kids and adults and no longer considered a medicine. Ready, go.
Ooh.
Popular drink for kids and adults.
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale. Is it ginger ale? Anybody want to guess on this one?
Pedialyte.
Pedialyte?
I just drink
I almost said that.
Yeah, I drink it when I'm hungover.
Well, it's no longer a medicine. It was considered a medicine in 1680. Chocolate milk.
Oh!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a tough one.
My kids drink it every day.
Yep, every single day. So that's what I'm saying. Just follow your gut. What do you think what kids do like? Kids like, I was going to think either Coke or maybe chocolate milk. But all right, we're going to give you a gift card to the 72 Tavern and Grill. It's a $25 gift card. It is yours. And Dave's
Have a good day, guys.
Dave's going to hook you up.
So,
thanks, Josh.
Can I ask a different chocolate milk question?
1680s, Sir Hans Sloane.
That's what I want to ask about.
Yeah.
Created, he found, I don't know, in South America, he found some recipe where they were putting cocoa and water together, and they were drinking it. It just didn't taste really good. So he came back and developed putting chocolate, sweetened chocolate, in milk, and that was used as some sort of medicine.
So I know if there's any workout buffs, and they could answer this question. I don't understand the craze with chocolate milk. They say it's very high in protein, but what?
Especially after like post
workout, post workout. So
or a lot of runners too. Like they want to drink. That's I'll drink beer after the Boilermaker, but don't give me no chocolate milk. That's just
what's
nasty.
the difference in that if I had like a Hershey's chocolate bar and a glass of milk?
Well,
why is that different?
Well, milk's got more protein.
I think you could have
general.
that. Depends on if you're working out. If you're working out and you're really you can pretty much eat whatever you want, can't you?
To some extent, because you're burning it off.
Luke Perry is a professor at Utica College. Before I get into the beef, it's what's for dinner guy, and that series, which is on Netflix, I wanted to talk about with Luke about this government shutdown and where we are currently. Luke is a tenured professor and chair of the Department of Government and Politics at Utica College. He was a graduate fellow at the University of Massachusetts, earned an MA and PhD in political science, and shares his thoughts and knowledge with us here on the radio. We're post NY22. Good morning, Luke Perry.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Of course, Luke's work on the congressional race was just awesome. The work that you did on that, it was great to talk with you during that. And now we're in another political situation. We're already talking about 2020. I saw a meme yesterday, and I thought it was kind of I thought it was kind of funny. Somebody posted, "I'm rooting for Barbara Walters to." Did you see this?
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Barbara Walters to do the Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve countdown next year, just so I can hear her say, "This is 2020." I thought that was kind of funny. Okay, Luke. So government shutdown. What are your thoughts here? This is. The president's saying this might go on for a long time.
I think that's just rhetoric. He is not in a strong position, so I think at some point he's going to have to give in because I don't see the Democrats doing that. So one related tactic is to try to elevate the rhetoric to intimidate them, perhaps to give in, but I don't see that happening. So he's in a difficult spot. I mean, once you agree to something and back out, and your opponents have no motivation to cave. I mean, I don't see how you get from A to B.
Did you happen to see the interview last night on 60 Minutes with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
I did not.
It was quite interesting. What do you make of her? My take has been that she is not as dim-witted as everyone is trying to portray. I think she's, in terms of creating a headline, her policies are extremely extreme, but I think she seems to be quite brilliant when it comes to creating a headline.
Well, if you become the youngest woman elected to Congress, I think it demonstrates a certain amount of intelligence, and she pulled off a remarkable upset in the primary, as you know. So I think she deserves credit for that because those are not easy things to do. In regards to the Democratic Party, she represents the next generation of potential leaders, and I think that's on display this Congress. You've got the divide between the older Democratic leaders and the younger up-and-coming freshman congressmen and women, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. She's certainly a spokesperson for the latter.
And you listen, she's a self-proclaimed socialist. Free for all, free college, free this, free that. How do you end up paying for this? Is she a little naive when it comes to that?
The United States is very different than the rest of Western civilization in terms of social services and basically how we pay for the things that people need. In most other Western societies, the government has much larger responsibility than here in the United States, and so some people, particularly progressives, look at that as good because it makes sure that people have health care and all their other basic needs, and others look at it as something that's bad because they look at government as part of the problem and not part of the solution. So I think we have to start with the cultural difference in the United States within our own civilization when it comes to that. Certainly she's farther on the left than most, and it'll be interesting to see if that's the direction the country heads in the near future or not.
It does seem that Nancy Pelosi is trying to discount her. She's been asked about this is the future of the Democratic Party, the fact that she knocked off this veteran in her primary. Nancy Pelosi discounted that and basically said that was one race. Don't bank on that being the future of the Democratic Party. What do you think?
Two considerations there. One, Crowley was somebody she was close with and was in line to move up the leadership chain and already pretty high up. So I think there's that piece going on. And then also Nancy Pelosi's been doing this a long time, and she broke barriers herself in terms of becoming speaker not once but twice. So, I could see why she'd kind of discount this and move on, and that's understandable. She has a long a record of accomplishment herself, where I could see that being a consideration for her.
We spoke to John Decker from Fox News this morning. He's the only guy on the Fox News team who is a practicing attorney with a law degree.
In the White House Press Corps.
And the White House Press Corps. And, Luke, he's on the issue of the president saying he's going to move forward on the wall, potentially threatening that he'll say this is a national crisis and he'll build it without Congress. John Decker saying he is very misguided, cannot be done. What's your take?
It's an interesting article in The Atlantic that kind of laid out scenarios where President Trump could use emergency powers. It was something a few weeks ago that nobody was really talking about, and now it's moved to the forefront. My concern as a political scientist in regards to the health of American democracy is that presidents, I believe, should always be very careful in declaring national emergencies, because we've seen historically around the world that that's a primary way in which authoritarian leaders consolidate power. They declare national emergencies, and then they expand their powers at the expense of the welfare of citizens. So I have no idea if that's what Trump's going to do, but I think even the discussion of doing that has some potential serious implications. Now, on the other hand, clearly President Trump thinks border security is incredibly important, and he's dissatisfied with the way things are being handled. I hope that he can find a way to address his concerns without using emergency powers, because that would take the presidency in a potentially different realm. These powers have been used, but in hindsight, they haven't particularly been used well by both Democrats and Republicans in the past, and have caused concerns. So that's a path that should be taken very cautiously, in my opinion.
Whether it is a wall or not, I would think the wise thing to do to change certainly the opinion of Congress and government in general would be for Democrats to work with Republicans to come up with a plan to help secure the border. Maybe it means a wall in spots, but maybe it doesn't. It means more funding. It means more technology. It means a more secure border. Put that together with an infrastructure package, and all of a sudden, the government's getting stuff done. What an opportunity both Democrats and Republicans and the president have right now. Do you see any of this happening in the next 2 years?
It's an interesting suggestion. I mean, I think the Republicans and Democrats had an agreement before Christmas, and it looked like there wasn't going to be a shutdown, and then the president decided that wasn't sufficient, and he was going to hold strong for this idea of the physical wall. Tying it to infrastructure, yeah, I could see that's something that the president has campaigned on, though he never really followed through in the way that Democrats would like. I think, though, that the political tension is so elevated right now that Democrats probably would not trade an infrastructure bill for that. Yeah. And we have to point out, when we talk about the wall, I mean, there are physical structures and walls across a fair amount of the border. So, I mean, this is largely political. Yeah. Congress has funded different types of edifices that have protected the border. They'll continue to do so, but now the rhetoric and the politics of this is so tense that I think the policy substance has been lost.
So we'll get nothing done, and in 2020 we'll all be talking about exactly what we're talking about right now, it seems.
Well, I think Republicans in the Senate who are facing re-election in 2020, they might push a vote through McConnell to what the House passed, and that's where I think the rubber might meet the road.
Don't you think that the president has put McConnell in a very tough position? There was one thing missing on Friday when the president had his press conference. Was Mitch McConnell. He wasn't there for that press conference. I never got to know about the... and that was the excuse. The reality is he's got to be livid because they had a deal, and the president changed after being criticized by people from the far right, especially on Fox News. The president changed the ballgame. There's got to be a rift between the two.
I think Trump supporters like his unorthodox style. I think Republican leaders in Congress do not. Paul Ryan didn't. I'm sure you're right. Mitch McConnell doesn't. They like predictability. They like to know what's going to happen. They don't want to call votes unless they know they're going to win. And Trump complicates all that.
Yeah. All right. Love your commentary, Luke. We appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Thanks so much.
All right, Luke Perry from Utica College. Quick break. Come right back. In studio right now is the new executive director of the Stanley Theater, Lisa Wilsley. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Right?
How did you say it?
I said Wilsley.
Wilsey.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
How's the new director?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Time will tell. I'm going to start calling you. So, good morning. And you came via. I was kind of busting your chops a little bit about beautiful San Francisco, is where you come from. So, And you're here.
I am here.
And you did what so many have done, is you found family here. You got married here.
I did. After sometime after I moved here, I met a gentleman, and we're married, and I'm a stepmom and to 2 great kids, and I'm a hockey life, and here we are.
So how did you come in with, so hockey was marketing, it was corporate sponsorships and that sort of thing, right?
Yes, that's right. I came out here. I was recruited out during the inaugural season to help out. I was there for several years.
It was a great launch.
It really was. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Great staff, good times.
And look at where we are today with us.
I know. It's wild. It's great.
I love the fact that all those people that during that time, I don't know if you got into any of it, but there was a whole movement of we can't support 2 hockey teams. There was it was kind of people were pitting the UC against this new Utica Comets, and that's all gone now.
It's all gone, and it's only going to get bigger, I think.
Yeah,
but they're built at Nexus and so forth, so it's going to be phenomenal. There's so much going on downtown, so it's just gravitating to people, and it's nice. When I first moved here, people were talking about leaving. Now people are talking about starting a business, and so it's great.
Well, and Lisa's not the only one that, obviously you found family here, but it's probably, you talk to a lot of people, local people they came here what they thought was temporarily, and now they end up staying and making it home.
That's true. I didn't know how long I would be here, maybe a season or 2. But now it's my hometown.
And okay, so I understand that when we talk about San Francisco, it is a beautiful city, and there's so much there that is incredibly beautiful. But it's hard to find a facility like the Stanley that would rival what the Stanley is right here. I mean, this is a beautiful that matches up. With great facilities around the country.
Yeah, it is its own jewel here.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't compare it to any other building. I think a lot of different entertainment facilities do something specifically very well, but what the Stanley does with live entertainment is phenomenal. It has the Broadway Utica, it has, the Nutcracker, it has comedians and, concerts coming through. And I think the idea is to keep a lot of what we have the same without disrupting people's, expectations of the theater, but also expanding the calendar and membership and just realizing it's not just the, Utica, really propelling it as a venue regionally. So really kind of, flexing itself a little bit.
What is your plan? I was reading that you certainly want to build on what's already been done.
Yes, I think with Jerry Krause, who, by the way, says hello to all of you. I think
we have a great deal of radio history with Jerry. Yes.
I bet. I think what he's done, along with the board, to stabilize the building financially and really get it back on the radar of the market and people to come in and enjoy it is stellar.
Yeah.
I'm really walking into a very well-run machine, and I think just taking it and moving the needle a little bit forward, saying, okay, now what's the next step for the building? People walk into it who haven't been in there in years, and it's mind-blowing. It is really beautiful. So really trying to get more of the community in the building, and I think the variety of the calendar will help that.
It is interesting. It's not only the things that you can see, but I think more so with the remodel that happened some years ago. It's the stuff that the general public doesn't see. It's the behind the scenes. It's the accessibility. There's a lot that we don't see that is a huge part of this.
You don't necessarily see where the money goes either, because there's a lot behind the bones. You open up an old building, and there's things you find that you didn't expect to see.
Yeah.
So I think with the expansion that they did and the facilities that they have, and actually using those a little more often for people to come in, whether it's to do lunch and learns with your staff, and kind of making the building more of a day open during the day also, not just a nighttime place. So we're working on some ideas to reach people of different generations, whether you're young, whether you're older. When do you want to come to the theater? What would you come for?
Right.
And really just starting to offer what people want and need, and then kind of give them a little bit of the unexpected as well.
Can I tell you, I know this sounds like I am such an alcoholic, but you got to add a full bar. I really believe a full bar makes a big difference. Like, for instance, my daughter's in dance.
Okay.
So we go to Albany, to the Palace. Is it the Palace?
The Palace
in Albany?
is there, yeah.
In Syracuse, it's the Landmark Theater. And Sunday mornings are the worst to go early Sunday morning, and all these little girls running around dancing. And they're serving Bloody Marys in the place. I'm telling you, this is a simple observation. The line for the Bloody Marys is unbelievable. So
I'll make a note of that for
there's
you.
a revenue source. I'm just saying.
Well, also too, like that is as long as we're giving suggestions, like maybe tours. I don't know that I've ever seen like the inner workings or the mechanics of the backstage.
It's interesting, and also bringing in more students and extending ourselves to the educational groups, because theater is wonderful. It's a lost art, but it's a great business to be involved in.
Yeah.
And going back to your cocktails, I'm sure down the road. Some ideas are to expand, things that we offer.
Yeah.
And the guest experience needs to also just grow.
Your volunteers are incredible.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
The staff is wonderful. I actually, after the press conference last Friday, a variety of staff members were interacting with each other, and I actually took a step back and watched them. And not only was there a lot of just really genuine respect, they also laughed together. And I'm like, what a win-win for me.
Yeah,
this is awesome. This is great. It's great people.
I want to ask also, you have a great board, it seems, that
Yes.
obviously you're not going to say anything bad about the people who just hired you, but it's important to have a board that's willing to work with you.
I think so. I think one of the reasons the search committee and I really clicked was our vision for the Stanley was on par. We really have the same ideas with regard to where it's come from, to where it's at, to where we want it to go. We're very much hand in hand with the ideas. Also, I think they're willing to take some chances on it just to kind of propel it forward as a destination. And honestly, with the growth downtown, it needs to just kind of flex itself a little bit and offer a little bit more, especially to people moving into the area, whether it's for new businesses, new housing that's coming, hospital, things like that. We're going to have a whole influx of population.
Yeah.
So really just want to put it on the forefront for what it does, The Odd does something very special. Nexus will do something very special. Stanley has its own unique space. So I think the city is going to be big enough to really handle all these different properties that offer entertainment and sports for people.
And, of course, Broadway Utica plays a big role.
Yes.
And
Yes.
these tech shows seem to be, and I don't know if there's been something over the years, but these tech shows seem to be something that bring a great deal. I mean, these people basically move here for a month. And what is your thought on
I think what Broadway Utica does is really integral to just educating people on great theater.
Yeah.
So I think what they do for the community is a fantastic service. And I don't know if people understand just so much what it's like to have the Hello Dollies come into town and these really unique shows that you're never going to probably be able to get to see down in the city. And to have an organization that literally transports it to you, I mean, you're really lucky. We're very fortunate. So that actually, I've not yet to meet Derek Clark, but I look forward to meeting him and seeing what he has on the plate for the next couple of years and working together on that.
My grandmother, who's no longer with us, saw for the first time Gone with the Wind at the Stanley Theater.
No way.
Yeah.
See?
It used to be the place where they went to see movies. And, she was brought up in the Leonardsville area. So you made a trip. It was a day trip to Utica. And that's where she saw Gone with the Wind.
That was the destination. That was the day out, huh?
So you think about the history. And even the staircase, which is, they say, modeled after the Titanic.
Yeah.
So at least something from the Titanic stayed afloat over the years. So. Right?
That's true.
Pretty nice. Kept it above water, and you're picking up on this.
Yeah.
Anything else that you can think that...
No, just really looking forward to getting started. I'm sure I'll be back to talk about some news as we, get into springtime. But I think it's going to be a great time for the theater, and I think the staff is excited, and we're just ready to keep moving forward. And Jerry's forever a family member, so he'll be around. So it's.
And I think he did a great job of taking it to the next level.
Absolutely,
I
think he was just his. I met him when soon after I moved here, and I've known him since, and I actually really admire him. I love his style. He's very calm. He gets it done. He's just who you want to work with. I worked with him on some events my family and I sponsored with him, and loved his style, loved the staff. So I think what he's done is really made it a very open venue to work with. Makes it easy. So I think he's done a phenomenal job.
All right. Well, listen, great job.
Thank
you. Congratulations on the new gig. Lisa Wilsey,
yes.
The new executive director of the Stanley Theater. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
We'll break 8:39. You want to add something?
I was just going to say, Lisa, you said you were from San Francisco. I recently had written something about the Stanley, and I remember there was this San Francisco link. Of course, Thomas Lamb, having designed the Stanley, had done dozens in the U.S. and Canada. And I looked and looked and looked, and looked, and I knew there was a San Francisco tie. It was the Fox Theater, which was actually demolished in 1963. Yep. So I'm sure you've never seen a show there. Most of our listeners haven't.
Yeah.
I spent the whole interview looking that up.
Oh.
You did, and you
Fox
found
Theater,
it.
in case you wanted to know.
Wow, and you came up with nothing.
And I almost went to break without even going to. So,
you're welcome, Bill.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I feel like a better person now. Thank you. I appreciate it. Got a break, 8:40 at WIBX. It's the 16th annual, by the way. It happens to benefit the United Way of the Valley in Greater Utica. It happens Sunday from noon till 4 as presented by Mark Butler, the retired assemblyman. He is now officially retired. And Barb and Rocky Fiato at the Waterfront Grill. Happens every year, and it's this Sunday at the Waterfront Grill. There's a full buffet, prizes galore. Games are all on TV. I believe the Patriots game starts at 1 o'clock. That's noon till 4 at the Waterfront Grill. $25 per person. It happens this Sunday. It's a great cause, and it is sponsored in part by WIBX. That's the station you're listening to right now. It's us.
If you're listening on the radio, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I have a few audio pieces I'd like to get into. The Golden Globes were last night. Oh, what a yawner. Just a gigantic. They spent all their time tiptoeing through the tulips, trying not to offend anybody, and then, all right, well, we'll be funny, and we'll try to create a funny around the fact that we're being so overly cautious. And I didn't, personally, it was, to me, not entertaining. I thought it was just kind of boring. Anyway, the big movie, the big winner was, I'm not surprised, was
Green Book.
Green Book won.
Oh, yeah.
But the big winner was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. I mean, again, I didn't really know much about.
And Best Actor was the kid that played
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury.
As I say, I had never really known much about Freddie Mercury before the movie. Went and saw it, and then went back to old interviews and stuff, and I was like, "Wow, he really got it." And then how they recreated almost identically the Live Aid show, was really well done.
I also learned that the actor whose name is, I don't have it right here, but the actor who played and won Best Actor. He also has kind of buck teeth.
The overbite?
Yeah. Is that what it's called?
Well, yeah.
Apparently it's no law. You can't say...
you
what
probably
is
just
What is this? The Golden
somebody.
Globes? The Golden Globes, you can't say anything now?
You know, I'll tell you, yes, he has an overbite or buck teeth, however you want to say it, but he looks like Roger Rabbit. So when I saw an interview with Freddie Mercury when this movie was not out yet, and I had said actually here on the air that I didn't realize how bucked his teeth were. They were, I mean...
I thought that
Rami Malek.
They'd get to the club 10 minutes before he did. I'm telling you, they're so far out there.
I thought that they had put the fake teeth in his mouth, and it was so bad that it was a distraction. And he even had a difficulty speaking. But then I heard him speak last night, and that's just him. He has a bit of an impediment based on the teeth.
And I think it's amazing, too, that both are able to sing the way they are.
Well, they didn't.
He didn't sing.
Well, he didn't sing at all.
Okay.
No,
I don't think so.
But Freddie Mercury, I think they addressed it in the movie. It was because of that he felt his range was bigger because of
I'm telling you,
his teeth.
The kid deserved that Golden Globe last night, I thought. And Don Lemon on Kevin Hart. Apparently, this went on. Ellen, who's gay. I don't know if we all know that. We know that Ellen is Lebanese. The fact that she came out and asked for Kevin Hart last week to actually, she's asking the Oscars to reconsider on Kevin Hart.
Good.
Years ago, he told some jokes that were gay jokes.
They were bad. I actually heard some of them.
I get it, but that along with every other blue comedian in every comedy club in America.
And he's apologized like 8 times.
Are we going to go back and search up and dig up all of this stuff? It's just ridiculous. He is not a homophobic person. And for Ellen to come out and say, I'm a comic, I get it. Cut him some slack here. She's been criticized greatly. And Don Lemon came out and ripped into Kevin Hart saying his apology was not a good apology. I can't stand Don Lemon, but here's the audio. Listen to this.
For many in the gay community, but especially in the black community, okay, the Twitter apologies or explanations on Ellen have fallen flat. To many, they seem insincere. and that he has somehow turned himself into a victim instead of acknowledging the real victims of violent and sometimes deadly homophobia. Kevin, if anything, this is the time to hear other people out, to understand why they might have been offended. And now you want the conversation to end.
Now, all of a sudden, it's a little darker. Because the conversation is about me hosting the Oscars. Conversation is about Kevin Hart's tweets from 10 years ago and homophobia.
Okay. The thing is, he's reacting to Alan's question. Okay? That's what he's criticizing him over. His reaction right there was a question that Alan had said. You know, what have you been going through? You've been being attacked. You've been, and he's responding to her. We're going to now hold that against him. I just can't believe it.
The idea that you give Don Lemon any credibility.
I agree. If I'm going to side with anybody, I would be siding with more credibility, and that would be Ellen DeGeneres. She's been a comedian for years. Whether you like her or not, she's a legendary performer. And Don Lemon is a fly-by-night that does nothing but throw bombs every night on CNN. Here. And I'm sorry, give me a break. I mean, give this guy a break at this point. Because guess what? You could go back on every television program, every movie.
Well, we were watching Curb last night. You said, how does he get away with that? You know, that was 2001.
It was back then. It was back then. You can get away with it.
I said that wouldn't fly today. And you know what? You know what else? Over the weekend, I think it was Friday. But there was a big story that broke on Louis C.K. recently, right? Mm-hmm. That he was joking about the shooting victims. There was the school shooting in Florida.
Paul, yeah.
And that he had soon after been in a comedy club, and the audio leaked of that last week.
Man.
Do you think comedians deserve a pass on everything? For instance, there's nothing in a...
It's free speech.
Comic in a...
If you're telling jokes, chances are... listen, you're out using the N-word, and I get it. That probably could come back to haunt you. If you're doing it today, it's different than doing it from 20 years ago. I hate to say it, but it really is.
Well, we learned last night.
It depends on if you're out doing stuff today that is considered racist and should not be and is dangerous to do versus something you did 20 years ago. If you're doing it today, it's your own fault. You're going to deal with it. Tony Colon is standing by right now. Tony was in the studio for our Christmas show, and it represents the Latin community here in the area, and brought me something very special on Christmas. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning to you, Bill, and the gang. How's everybody doing?
Well, I'm quite full after the weekend because I loved the pasteles, which basically is Puerto Rican, right?
Yes, that is some folks equate it to the equivalent of maybe a Jamaican patty for those out of the Caribbean and that part of the Caribbean basin, but certainly pasteles. There's different types of for example, in Mexico, tamal or tamales, something similar. But that's pretty much a Puerto Rican dish that has been around for quite a few years, and certainly around the holidays especially.
I have to tell you, they were 100%. I would know it without getting into why and all of that. I would totally know the authenticity, and I have to tell you, totally authentic, totally delicious. I doused them in hot sauce. It takes an hour to cook these. But to prepare them, what goes into this, Tony, is so much work, hours of work to be able to prepare these things before you even get to the point where you boil them for an hour and you then consume them. But they were delicious. Whoever made them, pass it on.
Yeah, certainly will. In fact, I also understand that the Costello is making its rounds around the cruise. So I'm glad that you guys are enjoying your espresso and pasteles. Just a little bit of the Latin flavor and to the overall community, and certainly educating those that may not be aware of some of the delicacies that we have in the Latino community.
And Tony, I'll have you know, it's not making its way around the group here. I've consumed 11 of the 12 K-Cups, and I will have the last one tomorrow. So they're all mine. Thank you.
Additionally, the pasteles were consumed by me at my home over the weekend, and my son came home from work the other day and said, "Hey, did you save me one of those?" And I said, "No." Nope. Sorry. My apologies.
Well, that's certainly certainly something that we love to share, and that time of year. The unfortunate thing is it's not always available throughout the year, but as the end of the year comes around, that's something that we certainly look forward to.
Right.
And certainly, also just wanted to share that we celebrated the Three Kings of the Epiphany yesterday.
Yes.
Which in the Latino community is just another Christmas and another reason for the kids to get gifts, and just wanted to share that with everyone and wish everyone a belated happy Epiphany of Three Kings.
All right. Well, Tony, thank you so much. As always, whatever you need, we're here for you, and especially when you come bearing gifts. It just makes it that much easier.
Tony, thank you for sharing. These guys don't do a great job of it.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You take care, guys.
All right. Tony Colon.